This episode involves a murder, prostitution, and a haunting from a lover scorned. Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Montana After Midnight. This is your one-stop shop for all things creepy, mysterious, and paranormal in the Big Sky state of Montana. Today's episode is going to be on the Dumas Hotel, which is in Butte, Montana, which was open from 1890 to 1982. Being a brothel, there were a lot of less than savory activities happening at this place, and it was connected to the red light district in Butte, which is infamous for crime, which led to a lot of unsettled spirits. With it being running from 1890 to 1982, it is the longest running brothel in the United States and was operating as a hotel after brothels became illegal in Montana, although it got shut down because it wasn't really on the up and up like it would want you to believe. The Dumas Brothel was built by the Nott brothers, Joseph and Arthur, and they went with the name Dumas because it was Joseph's wife's maiden name, which is very interesting if you ask me, maybe a little disturbing to name a brothel after your wife, but hey, it was a different time. Now, the upstairs of the brothel was a place of elegance where lots of prestigious people would come to stay, and a lot of their nicer ladies would work. However, the downstairs was not so nice. It was actually a place known for hardship, struggle, and supposed hauntings that come on later in this episode. This downstairs or basement was known to house cribs in which the prostitutes would do their work. There was a whole bunch of illegal activity that was connected to this basement, as well having a door that went right into a back alley that connected to Butte's red light district, where crimes such as stabbings, shootings, robberies, and more are said to have been committed. One of the most crazy accusations about these cribs is that they housed illegal abortions, which of course would lead to a lot of negative energy down there, and just the fact that anything happening in a basement is 10 times more creepy. There's clearly a lot of suffering going on in this section of the brothel and this area of Butte. Going along with all that crime and the connection to the red light district, and of course the facilities being used, there is said that there is a oppressive male presence that is known to be in this basement of the brothel, people going down there and feeling it, watching them. And of course the speculation is that this is one upset gentleman that used to use these services or died outside of the brothel. The most famous story of death and then a haunting in the brothel comes from a madam that used to run it, and a madam is like a manager but also still a prostitute. This prostitute or madam's name was Eleanor Nott, and she had a plan to run away with her secret lover who was going to leave his wife to be with her. Unfortunately, even though she packed a bag and was ready to run away with him in the middle of the night, she was found the next day in her bed, deceased. Now, the death was ruled of natural causes, but thoughts of a suicide or a murder lingered throughout the brothel. One thing I found interesting is doing research into this. It said natural causes, but then natural causes of excessive drug and alcohol use. So that's not exactly natural, is it? But it is interesting that she clearly died scorned, unhappy, and with a lot of regret. Since then, reports of a woman carrying a suitcase wandering the halls, especially in the 1970s, were brought up by employees who swear no one else could be in there whatsoever. Completely empty building, no one else is there, and yet they see a woman carrying a suitcase only to vanish when they try to track her down. And of course, this goes back to Eleanor and her never-to-happen retreat with her lover that never showed up. There's one more extremely creepy thing that might be involved with Eleanor Nott, but we're going to get to that after we cover the final madam of the Dumas Brothel. Her name was Ruby Garrett, and before she became the madam of the brothel, she actually was arrested and put in prison for 9 months for shooting her abusive husband in a bar in Butte, which I just think is a very fun fact. I don't know, it doesn't really relate to the hauntings, but she killed her husband. With Ruby Garrett being the last madam of the brothel, I think it's interesting that it ended kind of the way that it lived, with a crime. She was actually robbed and pistol whipped, which led to an investigation by the IRS, which found them guilty of tax fraud and ended up being the reason why the brothel got shut down. Now the person that robbed her was arrested, but of course did way more harm than good because it got the whole business shut down, which is just kind of perfect. Going back to the red light district and all the crimes that were committed outside and all the crimes that were committed inside the brothel itself. Now let's go back to Eleanor Nott and the last creepy thing that I said happened here at the brothel. Legend has it that one of the guests that stayed at the brothel in one of the upstairs apartments after Eleanor Nott's death was compelled to paint the face of a woman over and over again, a woman they've never seen before. Now this painter would paint canvas after canvas, throwing all of them away, never satisfied, feeling very discontent with these paintings. One of the paintings was rescued and taken out and is believed to be Eleanor Nott because her spirit is still there, upset, unhappy with the way that she left this world. Today, the brothel is now a museum centered in Butte, still known for its creepy paranormal occurrences. My favorite part of this story is all the crimes centered around the brothel and its connection to the red light district, even having one of its madams be arrested for the murder of her husband, and especially the mystery of Eleanor Nott. Did she die of natural causes from sorrow and drinking too much? Or did she die of murder and poison? All we know is that her alleged spirit is still there to this day, even beckoning people to paint her face. Like I said earlier, this was the first episode of Montana After Midnight, and I'm hoping to only get better from here. If you enjoyed, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, maybe check out the website that I've created towards this creepy kind of stuff, and then also leave a comment of a recommendation of something creepy or paranormal that has happened in Montana that you want me to cover. And if the second video has already came out, you can find it right here.